Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. I just want to thank all my old subscribers and welcome my new subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload videos. So I wasn't going to record my little Saturday winemaking project, but I thought, why not? If it could help one person, or maybe if you're on the fence about making it, then yeah, maybe this could help someone out that way. So I've never made anything like this before. This is my first time. So I am pretty much flying by the seat of my pants here, and these were my results. And hopefully they can help someone maybe start a little home brewing project of their own. So this is my Saturday watermelon winemaking session. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so this little project, this is what I have here. So I have my watermelon that I got from the farmer's market, and then I have two sugar babies, and these came out of our garden. Nice. And then I'm going to blend, keep my fingers crossed, two recipes that I saw, and I'm going to melt them together. So I have some raisins here I got for the kids' lunches, but we're going to use them in some wine. Why not, right? Raisins are raisins. So I had these, and I was like, why am I going to go out and buy white raisins when I have these raisins, and they should do just as good, right? I figure. So what I'm going to do is get this cut up and juiced up, as well as these, and then I'm going to steep this for 24 hours. That part I'm following from the first recipe. Then I'm going to add my raisins, which the guy suggested. And then the recipe I saw did raisins and sugar and water, of course. So I'm going to marry the two together and see how this turns out. So hopefully it will be a really good watermelon wine. So hopefully, keep our fingers crossed. So I've sanitized all my equipment that I need so far. I've not done all of it. I figured I'll do the rest when I'm using it tomorrow. So it'll be nice, fresh, and clean, which I figured would be better than to have it sitting overnight and possibly picking up something. I don't know. But anyway, so this is what I'm going to do. Okay, so this is how much juice I got out of those two small watermelons. And it's about 2 cups. And there's a little bit of pulp. There's some seeds and all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't really matter because I'm going to use this straining bag to steep it, I guess. I don't know, for the 24 hours. So all the seeds and stuff will be held in here. And then I'm just going to cut up this bigger one. The color inside is beautiful. I hope it tastes as good. I'm going to taste the piece, of course, because these were so sweet and juicy. It was unbelievable. And they had a lot of seeds. I saved the seeds, of course, for next year's harvest. But this color, I don't know if it's doing it justice here, is beautiful. It's nice and pink. And hopefully it tastes just as good. These are the skins from the sugar babies. And yeah, I literally got out just about everything out of there. And I had to taste the piece, of course, because it's the first ones that we've successfully grown in our garden. So here is the other one. I'm going to get this chopped up and juiced up and ready to go into my fermenter. Okay, so those 3 melons produced 3 and a little bit of juice, 3 quarts and a little bit of juice. And the color is stunning. I love the color. And this is the pulp that it produced. I skinned them alive. So I'm going to get my pulp into my straining bag and my juice into, have it here. It's all sanitized and cleaned. If you look, there is some sanitizer left. The guy told me not to wash it out. Just leave it. And that's what I did. I swished it around, made sure everything was coated with it, and then I just left it. Okay, so I'm going to get everything into my fermenter just so I don't get any nuts or anything like that in it, because that can ruin the batch. So let's do that quickly. Okay, so I have my pulp all in the strainer bag, and I am going to just tie this up in the, and not in the top, and then I'm just going to put it into my watermelon. It looks so, the color on this, I can't even, and then I just covered up the whole, just in case. So no nets or anything, because it is summertime and they're all over the place. So I'm just going to put this in there, and then I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know if you can hear that, but there is still juice dripping out of this bag with the pulp and stuff in it, the seeds and all that. So that's probably why they tell you to do this. So I just knotted it, and I'm just going to snap the top down until tomorrow. So it is the next day. It's 24 hours. I have my sugar ready. I have a cup of raisins here measured out, and I'm going to follow this recipe here 1.5 times, because I have 3 quarts of the watermelon juice in my container here, and I have my filtered water here, and I'm going to pop the top off and just take this out, and we're going to get started. This is what it looks like the next day. It's completely drained, and I still love this color. I wish there was a way to retain this color, but all the videos and everything I've seen, it actually goes clear. So I would love to retain this color. But anyway, so I'm going to get started with the recipe, and then what I'm going to do is add raisins and sugar and of course my yeast to it. Everything in my fermenter that the recipe calls for, all of this stuff, to 1.5 times, because I had 3 quarts of juice is what I started with, 3 quarts of melon juice. So I put 1.5 times everything else, so 3 quarts of water, so on and so forth. So now the recipe I'm going to blend with this, I'm going to put a cup of raisins and 2 of these 4-pound bags of sugar. And then we're gonna mix this concoction up. Here is it so far before I add that. As you can see, I got a little bit of my tannin on the side. It was kind of hard to measure because it's such a small amount. It says 1/8 of a teaspoon. Yeah, okay. So I got all that in, and now I'm going to mix the rest of it. I'm going to mix my sugar in, stir everything up, and then I'm going to add raisins, and then top it off with my filtered water that I have here. Have some more of that. So that's what I'm going to do next. Spoon that came with my kit. I'm keeping the lid halfway on. I just want to sort of minimize any possibility of anything going in it or any kind of nets that might be around. And just going to mix this in as best I can with one hand, and one hand holding the camera. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get that tannin off the side there. I'm going to slip this back a little bit more, and I'm just mixing the sugar in a bit, and then what I'm going to do is top it off with water before I put in my raisins, and then sprinkle the yeast on top. That's basically what I'm going to do. This is crazy. I saw something floating in my fermenter, my batch, so I decided I'm going to try and strain it out. I don't know what it is. Did something get in it? I was like panicking for a second. Then I found out as I'm straining it to the bottom. Can you see that? when I was stirring it, I was seeing stuff floating. It's the tannin. Yeah. So I did all this for nothing. Washed those things up, sanitized them so they could touch my wine, and yeah, it's basically stuff I added in there myself. So word to the wise, know what's it looks what tannin looks like once it's in, because that skirt the bejeebus out of me. I'm like, oh no, it's ruined, but it isn't. So carry on with what I was doing. Okay, so all my sugar is stirred in, and I'm putting in the last package of raisins now. I'm going to stir that a little bit and then top it off, and then I'm going to add my yeast. So I'm just going to stir it just a little bit, just to make sure everything's all nice and copacetic. Give those raisins a chance to separate and do what they gotta do. Then I'm gonna top it off because I want to get a gravity reading before I add my yeast, and I want to top it off before I do that, because that's basically what the books and everything said to do. Sorry about that. And I want to have a beginning reading before I start this. Not that I know what I'm doing with it, but still, it doesn't hurt, right? So I'll do that now. Yeah, so I did this, and I have no idea how to read it. I mean, as far as I can tell, it's not reading that it has any sugar in it, but I know I put oodles of sugar in it. So, I don't know. This is going to be my record for me testing it to start with. So, dense wine, readings below measure. Yeah, see? I don't know. So it's reading below. I'm already off to a bang up start. Okay, so I'm just topping it off the rest of the way with water. And once I do that, I'm going to put the yeast on it and put this slash juice slash wine slash whatever to bed. So here is the yeast I'm using that was recommended by the guy where I purchased my kit from. And what I'm going to do is just sprinkle it over the top, just ever so lightly across the top of this. We'll call it liquid because it isn't wine yet. So across the top of my mixture of juice, sugar, water, and raisins, I'm just going to sprinkle it lightly over the top, and then I'm going to top it off with the rest of my filtered water once I have the package. And I am using the whole complete package of yeast. So once that's sprinkled in, as you can see here, I've sprinkled it over the top. I'm just going to top it off to that line with water, and then I'm going to put the top on and put my airlock on. And as you can see, here's my airlock. It didn't start doing this until the next day. The first day it bubbled a few times because I was watching it like a hawk, but this action was happening the very next morning, and it's bubbling vigorously, as you can see. So side note, I knew I wanted to pull some sugar for my long-term storage for this project. And as you can see, when I first started actually putting up sugar in 2016, I was crazy enough to put my sugar into this 5-gallon bucket in its paper bags. What was I thinking? I'm a little bit wiser now and use Mylar bags, but this is crazy. This tells you that maybe it can last, 5+ years in its paper bag in the right conditions. It's not hard. It's a little hard. So there was probably maybe something going on maybe before I put it in the bucket. But it's all right. I will just, bang up the bags a little bit to break it up. but it lasted 5 years in its paper bag. But at least the top had a gasket. Just a little side note. And one other thing about this wine, what they don't tell you is that it stinks. I have it in my dining room because it is heavy and I couldn't move it that far after I had done it in the kitchen. So I pushed it underneath my dining room table. But I came out like 2 days later and this stuff stinks. My family's like, what is that smell? And of course they don't know I made wine because I didn't tell them. But I was like, I don't know. But yeah, it doesn't smell the best. So bear that in mind when you're thinking about where you want to store it, in a closet or something like that. Just know when you open that door, you might get a whiff of something not so pleasant. And the weight of moving it around once you've actually finished making your wine, think about where you want to make it and where you want to store it. You don't want those two to be far apart. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell to be notified when I upload videos.